Breaking news as we begin the day with Adam Schefter here. Adam, what's the latest that you have?
Well, Laura, moments ago, the NFL just announced that Josh Gordon has been conditionally reinstated. He has to pass through COVID protocols, but once he does, he could be eligible to play in the final 2 regular season games of the year for Seattle. Some more help potentially on the way for the Seahawks, Laura.
Very interesting there as we welcome you to NFL Live. Week 12 finally in the books, I think. And no, it really is. After a little Wednesday afternoon football, we'll get to that. Maybe the biggest injury also to a contender this season in a minute. Keyshawn Johnson's here, Dan Orlovsky there, Marcus Spears, and you just saw Adam Schefter. Let's get right back to Shefty with the biggest news of the day. And let's start with our top story. Adam, Bud Dupree leaving the game in the second half. What do we know about the injury?
Laura, out for the season, torn ACL, and from the moment he went down on that play, non-contact, you knew it was going to be bad. It's a blow for the Steelers defense, which already has lost Devin Bush, and it's a blow to Bud Dupree, who was the franchise player playing on a 1-year deal and eligible to become a free agent after this season.
Yeah, ESPN actually ranks Dupree as the 3rd best free agent next season behind Dak Prescott and Yannick Ngakoue. So, as you mentioned, Adam, bad for him and the Steelers. Marcus, what's your reaction?
It's tough, Els. Listen, this is a guy not only was looking for a long-term deal, so from a personal standpoint, I know Bud is really disappointed in this situation. And then, too, for the Steelers and the multiplicity in which they use him defensively. Look, he's lined up as a pass rusher here, creates a lot of pressure. We know what him and T.J. Watt does off the edge. Dropping in coverage, he literally takes away Mark Andrews from Lamar Jackson on that play, and it ends up being a pick 6. And then here you'll see him line up in the slot. This is how they use and choose to deploy their outside linebackers, and Bud Dupree was doing it at a high level. When you have a Swiss Army knife as a linebacker, a guy that can run, that's physical, you can put him in the middle of the line of scrimmage at times to defend against nuanced type run situations. Not having him is a big deal. Obviously, they lost Devin Bush earlier in the year, but to me, I would argue that Bud Dupree did a lot of the dirty work, did a lot of things to help T.J. Watt and the rest of these defensive linemen come along and be able to get that rush on the passer, but also defending coverage. It's a big loss for the Steelers.
Let's continue with that Steelers game from last night. Finally ends up being played on a Wednesday afternoon against the Ravens, and this one nearly a week postponed, but finally in Pittsburgh to get it going. We're going to put the clutch meter on here, Dan Orlovsky, for you. Picking it up in the 4th quarter. What do you got?
Well, this is Juju to the flat. And listen, he catches that ball about the yard past the line of scrimmage, contacted about a yard and a half. And that's a first down play that now becomes an 8-yard gain strictly because of his effort. I mean, this is something that Juju's really grown into, is like that guy into the 4th quarters, get me the ball, and I will just will myself to making those plays. And Laura, then he's in the slot here. You talk about trust from a quarterback on that inside fade, front pylon. That ball's out of Big Ben's hands. You got to trust that your guy can go make that catch.
Steelers extending their lead there to 19-7. Less than 3 minutes remaining. Watch the clutch meter here.
Yeah, this is dope. Big Ben sees the coverage. Okay, someone's got to drop out underneath James Washington. He doesn't care who it is. This is actually thinking, my guy's going to get exactly where he needs to. That is not a lollipop throw. That is not a guess throw. Big Ben knows what the defense is. Trusts that James Washington is going to get there. And that's a huge conversion for that offense. They're a very clutch team when they need to be.
Steelers win, but Tomlin not happy.
To be bluntly honest, man, I'm really disappointed in our performance tonight. We did enough to win, but that's all. It was really junior varsity, to be quite honest with you, and it was in all 3 phases. We're fortunate tonight. It's good to proceed with the victory. I acknowledge that, but not a lot happened tonight to be proud of or to be excited about other than that.
Man, I mean, you hear an NFL coach talking about an NFL win, calling it a junior varsity performance. Are you as concerned about that as Tomlin is?
No, I think it's a championship caliber performance. Like, listen, NFL players are creatures of habit. You know, like our Mondays are very structured, Tuesday, Wednesday, because we're so used to playing every Sunday. And this game has been postponed 3 times. They've dealt with COVID issues themselves. I think a team that's not capable of winning a championship loses that game. And then they come out of the game, they point to excuses. Oh, we had to deal with all this stuff, the upturn in schedule, all that. And then a team that is capable of winning championships figures out a way to win that game. Mike Tomlin's doing a good job coaching, but they find a way to win the game. They're clutch in the 4th quarter. We've seen that over and over again. I know who the Steelers are. The whole league knows that they're a very good football team. The reality is this. when it came to the moment where they needed to make those plays to win that football game, their clutch stars showed up and did it, and that's why, for me, it's a championship caliber performance.
It is a bad performance. I hate to disagree with you on that, Dan, because Mike Tomlin said it. You can see it with your eyes. A lot of mistakes, 3 phases of the game. Ray McLeod, fumbles in their own territory.
Right.
Dante Johnson dropping balls left and right. He's a professional wide receiver. The defense not playing as lights out as opposed to the pass. And when you think about it, and you look at RG3 was getting some yards here and there, running the ball, doing some different things to him. Imagine when if and when they play Kansas City. You talk about T.J. Watt chasing down or covering Hollywood Brown on the wheel route.
Yeah, up the sideline, right.
Tyreek Hill, or better yet, you look at that right there, that play, Tyreek Hill makes that catch.
Yeah.
And an even better throw comes from Patrick Mahomes. RG3 looked like he was throwing the ball from the outfield to third base on the line drive. So when you look at that, there's major concerns if they want to be champions. And I understand creature habit. There's no question about it. But when you look at that, there was nothing last night, or yesterday, better yet, that showed me that this team can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City based on what I saw yesterday.
Right, and that's the context that we're talking about this team in. I mean, an undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers team, we are no longer talking about are they good in the regular season. It's about how you perform now. And only the good teams, the teams that have an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, get that title. How do you play? I mean, that's the standard. We are talking about the coach that says the standard is the standard. So obviously Mike Tomlin is going to feel that way. But guys, my concern for a lot of this year has been Pittsburgh's run game. I know we get enamored with the ability to throw the ball down the field, and Chase Claypool has emerged, and Juju making clutch plays. All of the things that you guys are talking about are right. But the one thing you have to have, and we've seen it throughout a playoff run, is a legitimate run game. And I just don't feel like Pittsburgh has shown enough of that between James Conner and Benny Snell to give me the comfort that they can bleed a game out if they get a lead against a team that has the ability to put up points in droves. So I'll be interested to see if they try to focus on that and get it going.
Yeah, I mean, your point's a good one, Key. So is yours. I'd say this, like the Bud Dupree injury is probably the biggest injury to a non-quarterback of the season, certainly for a contender. And I would say that injury could very easily take them out from, we believe that they're good enough to win a championship. I mean, those 2 pass rushers are the best pass rushing duo in the NFL, him and T.J. Watt. Now 50% of it's gone. That could crush their championship hopes.
When you think about this Steelers team, though, a lot of it has to do with the schedule. They remain unbeaten, and they go up against the Washington football team on Monday. The schedule favorable for them, even with some of these issues and some of these injuries. All right, let's get Adam Schefter back.
That won't be an easy out.
There you go. Hey, listen, we'll be talking about that game. It's on Monday Night Football, by the way. But we'll get Adam back in here. It's been a wild week in terms of the NFL, the changes they had to make due to COVID situations. What did we learn?
Well, I think this window this week provided a real glimpse into the NFL's thinking now and moving forward, Laura. We saw the NFL carry on with a game between the Broncos and Saints despite the fact that Denver had no quarterbacks. And we saw the NFL push back on the Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh Steelers game. 3 different postponements to the point where it finally was played yesterday, ended week 12 on Wednesday afternoon about 6:45 or so Eastern time. And I think that what that showed is that the NFL is concerned about isolating the virus, identifying the virus, or identifying, isolating, and containing. And as long as it identifies, isolates, and contains, the game is going to be played. We're 12 weeks in. The National Football League, the job is to provide football and entertainment for fans. It's exactly what it's done through 12 weeks. Hasn't canceled a game. That's not applause. That's not criticism. That's just the fact that it has gone on, the show goes on, and it will continue to go on.
Shefty, can I ask you 2 questions? My first question is this. What happens if a situation like that happened to the Ravens, where they've got multiple players, but mainly their starting quarterback, happens in the playoffs? Like, I'm not going to say a name, I don't want to put it in the universe, but like, what happens if a star quarterback can't play? Is there plan for the postponement of a postseason game because it's win or go home? And then if I'm an organization, do I have the ability to create my own bubble? Like, say a team and goes, you know what, I don't care what the NFL is doing, I'm bubbling my own team. Is that an option?
Well, the first thing to the first point, Dan, on star players or standout players getting the virus, again, the NFL has been very clear since the beginning of the season that it's not going to postpone games on a competitive basis. Again, if the virus is not contained, then a playoff game could be in jeopardy. But if the virus is contained, in the opinion of the league, it doesn't matter whether it's an MVP, whether it's a starting quarterback or a Pro Bowl player, they're going to play the game. In terms of bubbles, teams have their own little bubbles going on right now. The 49ers are in a hotel in Arizona. Teams function that way as it is right now with the daily testing and the environments they've created.
Hey, I like it when Dan